You start talking that odd stuff. I
Yeah.
that gambling stuff, man. I don't get it. You see the score, you see +9, -7. To be frank, Barrow, I don't know what any of that stuff means. But the other day, I'm watching TV and I see a commercial for gambling in New York.
Yep.
The first time I've ever seen it. Because gambling recently became online gambling recently became legal in New York
Yep.
in January 2022. If my boy Fenton was here and I say, yo, why did they legalize it? He would say, well, Will, that's simple. It's money. I got it. It's a way for the state to make revenue. But that would have been the case in 1985, in 1995, 2005. Barrow, why is this taking place now?
Well, so what happened is previously a lot of these states that had sports gambling, your Nevadas, your places like Vegas and some in New Jersey, and some of these rules and regulations were almost grandfathered in on a federal level
Mm-hmm.
that they were allowed to do what they did, but other states were then regulated on issues on whether or not they were allowing online gambling, the technology that enabled it. And so what happened because of this push of businesses being more digitized across federal level, there were recent legislation that enabled states to pass on their own whether they wanted sports gambling.
Right.
So at a federal level, they opened it up and said, okay, now it's up to you states. You guys decide whatever you want to decide. If you want to allow gambling in your state, great. If you don't, great. If you want it to be online, fine. If you want it to only be in person, fine. So what happened is things changed in the federal environment that said, all right, now it's up to you states. Well, it takes a few years for each legislation within the states to say, what do we want to do? They're doing their studies. Like in Louisiana, for instance, a lot of places were very regulated on where they could gamble.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's a Harrah casino right in the middle of New Orleans, but there's nothing else on the outskirts. It's not like you could put a casino everywhere. It was very much regulated. Well, now a sports book in the last year has been allowed into there because of the state of Louisiana allowing sports gambling, but they didn't allow online sports gambling. Well, guess what? Legislation got passed. So later this year, online, you're going to be able to gamble as soon as you step into the state of Louisiana, you could gamble on a sport on your phone.
Yes.
But that is only because the legislation got passed to say, all right, we're allowing it on your phone, not just in person.
Right.
Same thing in New York.
Yeah.
So New York is allowing the digital, not necessarily a casino, like a Harrah's in Midtown,
Yeah.
but allow that. And it has to do with the state and the state house deciding what's best for us.
For sure. It was legal in Jersey for a while. I know people that would ride the train,
Yep.
step foot in New Jersey, and make a bet. Or they
Yep.
would send a bet to their friends in New Jersey. I had some people in New Jersey making a little extra money. Oh, you want me to make a bet? Send me a little something. I'll make the bet for you.
Sure.
And now it's here in New York. Why? Like, I don't understand. Like, why now? Is it just more acceptable to be a degenerate nation and state? Like, why now? Why was it ever blocked? And then why are they allowing it now? Like, I just don't understand the timing of it.
I mean, I think a lot of it's almost the same argument for a lot of legal drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, it's people want to call it a cash grab and things like that.
For the states, because they do different things with the revenue.
Yeah, they do. And I think the states say that, and then it's very questionable what actually gets trickled down. I think it is a lot of very rich white dudes that have a lot of sway in politics that are morally high ground, but then reality sets in and they realize that they have a piece of property or something that they can do that makes them even more money.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're willing to ignore their own morals in order to push an agenda.
Yeah.
Not to say that, drugs or gambling are a moral issue, but to say that what we had previously considered them as sins or whatever, now suddenly people that had this holier than thou art realize that, oh, well, if it's going to happen, I may as well make the money on it.
Right.
And so they're willing to change their own philosophies in order to placate their own businesses
Mm-hmm.
and their people that they're investing in, their lobbyist groups, those things like that. They don't want to be left out in the cold and be the only guy sitting there. Hey, at least I'll get my piece. I'll get my piece. I'm
Yeah.
surprised Texas hasn't done anything on either level. Yeah, but
It's not legal to gamble in Texas?
no, I mean, we have like you can do horse race gambling and lotto, but you
You
can't do online
you
or
could carry
casino.
a gun to the Walmart, but you can't gamble in Texas?
Yeah, you can do a lot of weird stuff in Texas that you can't do.
Yo, Barrow, that's the most shocking news I got in a long time, man. Tell me, what is the allure of gambling? Because I'm just one of those people I don't get it.
I might not be the best because I do like to put a little bit on games, but I don't really put much. And and this is let's pretend I'm not in Texas. Uh, the whole idea is that it adds a little interest to a game that would otherwise not give me interest.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I do love sports and I love, my college basketball and college football, and I love soccer and I love golf. And so I tend to bet on the things that I love anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So it's weird for me because I'll put a little if I see for whatever reason there's talk in a way that doesn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to sound weird, but I almost want to be proved right.
Mm-hmm.
That my philosophy is right, and by my way to prove it to myself is to put $10 on a bad bet for that. I say, the Knicks they should be favored in this game, but somehow they're the underdog, and that's too much for me to ignore. So I may as well put a little bit on that, and I think it's in order to show that I've got the big brain on Brad. I've got to sit there and prove to myself that I've got that skill.
But when you see people like losing their life savings, their house, their family because of addiction, I know addiction is real.
Sure.
But what is it that they're addicted to? The thrill, do they consider it competition? Like I really just puzzled about this gambling thing.
Yeah, I think a big one is actually gambling is the addiction to the loss of getting yourself out of the loss that you got yourself into.
Copy.
So this is going to sound odd, but I think that most of the time when the negative effects of gambling happen, it's a quick way out of getting in trouble. Mm-hmm. So a guy, he's like, "Oh, I got this great bet for you," and so he takes $1,000 that he doesn't have that should go to his child support or whatever, and he puts it on the Cowboys, and they get their ass beat. Mm-hmm. And suddenly he thought he was so confident. Well, now he's down 1,000. Well, that next month's check he's got right here. Well, if I just win this game, I can cover my other 1,000 that I'm already down, and then I'll be even, and then I'll just stop gambling. Right. Well, that doesn't happen. The next bet he makes, he loses again. Now he's down 2,000. Mm-hmm. Now he's taking a bookie, and he's taking some money from a guy that he probably shouldn't, and he's got to figure out how to get out of that bet. And I think that's where the spiral is. It's a quick way out rather than not putting yourself in those in the first place. And it's like all the people that are NFTs and stock market and all that. That's gambling. Yeah. People tell us, they go in suits down. I worked in one of those offices in Midtown with all those guys that walked in $1,000 suits that were sitting there telling me that they're the smartest guy on earth. But in reality, they are no different from that guy who's down taking the bet for the other dude in Jersey and making that transaction. He's just doing it at one level of $100 or $1,000, whereas the dude in the suits making that transition or that transaction at 100,000, he's still gambling. These guys don't know anything. They're sitting there looking at their portfolios right now, going in the shitter, pardon my French, and seeing all these companies that were once something that, a great bet. No, it's all just gambling, and it's all people that are trying to buy their way out quick and, get rich.
Get rich quick.